This is Naked and Stranded, a Minecraft server in which armor is banned and land has mysteriously begun to fade and disappear, leaving only islands and vast oceans. So join me as I regale you with my tales of curses and misfortune. The server began with myself and many other creators on a central island, a desert island surrounded by tranquil waters filled with coral reef teeming with life. A few trees dotted the island, azalea trees, and there was a central campfire to keep warm. I stole a logs bench from the campfire, as did a few others, and began to make tools, crafting a spear and an axe. I went to grab a real tree before heading for some stone. I had only one goal in mind for this server: building an industrial empire, an oil tycoon. I had on good information that these oceans were filled with oil just beneath the surface, and I was going to make my fortune on it. So, with stone tools, I promptly set off into the vast oceans, the first to set sail and explore the world's islands. Having already stolen a boat during the start of the server, I decided to craft my own boat this time. Picking a direction, I just set sail off towards the great unknown.
Stachelin knew that his folly, holding his grand aspirations as the arbiter of all that is important and all that matters. His lust for vast fortunes will have their cost.
As I sailed and explored the oceans, I looted my first shipwreck, and within the wreckage, I found a map. A treasure map. So I set sail towards the treasure, and I found it guarded by a drowned pirate, his hat still atop his head, and a trident in his hand, and riding an undead nautilus. In my attempt to kill the pirate, I failed. His trident finding its purchase in my chest, I very quickly died. So I lost my first life on the server, and channeling my inner bog swamp, I was also the first to die on the server. So I respawned at the main island to find that night had swiftly fallen, and the little bits of land that there were available to use were covered in mobs. Most of the players were either hiding behind trees and running around trying not to die, or still underground mining, but that was not my goal. Neither of those were. My first priority was getting another boat, so I quickly headed over to Amethyst, another member on the server, and commandeered his boat immediately, so I could sail back towards my death point to regain my items and loot. But by now, I think it's a good time to explain some of the other mechanics on this server. Every player starts with 3 lives. When you have 3 lives, your name is green, both in tab and the server chat. When you die and drop down to 2 lives, you are on yellow, and then you have red when you are only on 1 life. However, every player can have up to 5 lives equipped at any time. And beyond that, you can craft more with custom crafting recipes added. In order to craft these, you can use gold, glowstone, diamonds, and other items as well, all combined to create them. At the start of the server, only conduits were available as the center items surrounded by the aforementioned gold, glowstone, and diamonds. Additionally, custom ships exist on the server, both craftable and hand-built when using a ship wheel, which can be attained from the drowned pirates that tend to have tridents, as well as ship wheels in their offhands.
Stachelin was learning quickly, being shaped by the world around him, forced to adapt to the world instead of bending it to his will.
After stealing my second boat of the server, I now regained my items and decided to put down some roots, quickly claiming a mushroom island nearby to where I had looted the shipwreck, and a few nearby jungle islands. I traveled up a river, which led between several of those islands of the archipelago, and there I made my home between the river and a large interior lake, eventually connecting to the vast ocean of the world. Here, I chopped down several trees and just quickly put together the essentials of a base camp. Here, I was also hunted by several trident drowns. My next and second death was certain. After getting my head flattened by a trident flying through it, I respawned at the spawn islands and tore a wall from someone's house to make another boat and sail back. My third commandeered boat and my first wall that I stole. As soon as I got back to my base, I was once again struck down by another trident, however. Very quickly after my return, in fact. But this time it was slightly different. There were 2 trident drowns, and one of them had followed me all the way from an ocean spawn hundreds of blocks away, despite the fact that it probably should not have been able to. No mob's pathing can last that long within the traditional game of Minecraft. So, taking this death Rather poorly, I again respawned at the spawn island, ripped another wall out of someone's home, making my fourth boat and second commandeered wall, and I again sailed back. This was, however, my fourth death, and because of a loan from another server member by the name of Lloyd, it was the only reason that I was alive. I was stuck on one life. And I was frankly tired of feeling as though I was being magically targeted by mobs that had no reason knowing where I was, let alone pathing to me. How they found me, I don't know. I was incredibly far away from where they were spawning, and they were magically just able to find where I was. It felt as though. So, after a lengthy rant in the server Discord, I just went back to my hardcore world during that stream. I should mention that this was mostly streamed live at my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Stachelin. You should come join the stream sometime. There'll be a link in the description. But, needless to say, I was rather angry. It came out the next day that the data pack that we had on the server for the custom boats added those mobs. They were not originally from Minecraft, which I should have realized very quickly when I noticed the ship wheels in their hands. But I did not. So I logged on, scared to see what would happen, but when I logged back on, I died immediately. As soon as I was in the server, immediately there was a death screen, and I was death banned from the server. After all the struggle, running, hiding, mining at night because I couldn't even make a bed, I died, and my time on the server was done.
Stachelin had lost all hope. He was broken by the world around him. But I had not ordained his time over yet. He still had a role to fulfill in the server.
After coming back to my computer, as I needed to take a break and just relax from what I thought was going to be a waste of my time, as I wouldn't even have enough content to make a video, but here I am making a video, it was at this time that the figure Cinna came to be known on the server. A magical and mystical figure in the form of Hello Kitty that demonstrated power over life and death, a bestower of items, and one lover of rituals. My first interaction with Cinna was later on in the server, but my life being affected by Cinna's actions began as soon as I logged back onto the server. I found in one of my chests a set of nether stars, 4 to be precise. In the server, nether stars are used to gain more lives. The crafting recipes just make nether stars, and they can be obtained in several ways, crafting being one of them, but of course killing the wither. It was a blessing that I didn't even understand why I had attained. I didn't realize at the time that it was Cinna who gave these to me, or that it was Cinna who had revived me in the first place. But there was yet more progress to be made, and this is both when my addiction to fishing and my stealing of boats grew even higher. Although I was not streaming, I was just playing on the server, enjoying hanging out with several of the friends I'd made along the way, and stealing their boats, because what else would I do if not high seas piracy? By the third or fourth day of the server, I had commandeered well over 21 boats that were originally owned by various members of the server. I even went so far as to steal an airship. It was also roughly at this time that Java, a fellow member of the server, and somewhat nerdy kid, agreed to let me join him on a trip to a trial chamber, and here I gained my trident Enrian, named for a character in my growing series of unfinished fantasy books that I swear, will eventually be finished one day. But before this trident could even be enchanted, it would disappear. One of the first cases of vanishing items and mobs on this server. The vanishing curse is a phenomenon I have come to understand as a fact of life on this server. To the best of my knowledge, the curse is deeply tied to the natural world being mostly missing itself. Likely, this gap in natural existence leaves a deep hole to be filled by what the world produces. Or, to the best of my knowledge, this is the theory I have come to. But my trident was one of the first to be claimed by this curse. However, a significant amount more would follow. It was the next day after my trident disappeared that the first zombie villagers were cured on the server. Cured by Amethyst, the one who I stole his boat from, on his island, the same island where my trident vanished. Any and all villagers bred by these two cured ones, however, would vanish similarly as soon as the chunks were unloaded and reloaded. If you left and came back, they would no longer be there.
Stachelin, in his foolish ambitions, thought the world would merely go along with his plans, bent to his need to obey capitalism. But the world exists beyond this force. The natural forces of existence come first.
Along with items vanished, server members' willingness to play on the server. Now, as this video is being made, the server is no longer up, the experiment concluded. There were so few people fighting the Ender Dragon that the fight and search of the end would seem only worth this mere footnote mention. So little happened that I frankly didn't find it important to mention, for the most part. I did get the dragon egg, though. That was pretty cool. One of the few items to not vanish from the server. Cinna, as a figure, I have come to understand is a deity of some kind. What exactly kind or form and function of this deity, I can't say for sure. Whether an angel or a demon, it often feels hard to tell. However, Cinna has demonstrated repeatedly the ability to control and reverse life and death, as well as to bestow items of great wealth and blessing. I found in my own experiment that the sacrifice of items to Cinna for blessings was indeed the best way to guarantee blessings. And through the use of mass fishing, I would gather to myself items I needed or had disappeared from me. Villagers and even my trident would be returned to me from the void through careful meditative prayer and the sacrifice of fish. This was throughout the server the only reliable method I found to retrieve items that had been claimed by the vanishing curse that so thoroughly plagued the server, and indeed its players as well. But all good things do indeed come to an end, especially Minecraft servers. After a few weeks, the vast majority of players had stopped playing. They'd mostly stopped by the third or probably fourth day of the server, in fact. Truly, the greatest curse a Minecraft server can have is the boredom of players on the server. By the end of the server, myself and 3 others were the only remaining few who played even semi-regularly. But by the time the server pretty much ended, I had personally visited 3 of the 4 world borders, had attained a significant personal ownership of land, forged alliances, helped start international courts which were never used, the Congress of Islands. Oh, and I did buy another country for a single diamond. I bought the port city of Stachelin for 1 whole diamond. 3 world powers had risen, with 2 more on their coattails. The Oil Corporation, my own nation, the port city of Stachelin, before I bought it, and the Kingdom of Shrumia, all claiming the titles of world power. Amethyst and his unnamed islands a distant 4th, and the backwater rump of Acheron taking a 5th place so distant it could not be seen from even 4th place, let alone the podium. But, stirring in the darkness, there's a silent anger that arose. The owner of Acheron, originally Goose, a former member of the port city of Stachelin, had left the port city to start his own land. But this land was then bought very soon after from Goose by Skyknight, king of Shrumia. However, Goose left a great scourge upon the land, and the nation of peace, its hand was forced. Seeing such a great crime against its own lands, it could not allow this to continue. And so Shrumia launched a nuke, a weapon we did not know the kingdom possessed. But, regardless, the server was changed, forever. Acheron was destroyed, and the server entered into a nuclear winter so vast that the oceans froze thick, plants suffocated, and life ceased in the world.
In the end, all things must end, and this world was no different. Time is the ultimate instrument of destruction. The endless march destroys all before it, but some are lucky enough to leave behind hints and clues.